You have to deny yourself. Folks, and I say this to anybody that's watching, anybody that's seated here, Jesus Christ is ultimately the example that we're to follow. We follow Paul in as much as he followed Christ. But Christ is the example. Christ told us, bid us, follow him. You're walking on really treacherous ground if you believe that Christ was involved in any type of sexual activity like that. He calls us to follow him. We have to really ask ourselves, would we try to contend for the fact that masturbation is in any shape or form following him? My estimation, folks, that's a stretch. We find in the scriptures this. I'll go on to another thing. Titus 3:3. We ourselves were once foolish. Now listen, this is what Paul's doing is he's describing what we once were. He says, we ourselves were once foolish. Titus 3:3. We ourselves were once foolish, disobedient, led astray, slaves to various passions and pleasures. Now look, the only reason I bring this up is because I would ask this question. One of the things that we see happen when people are converted is what Paul describes in 2 Corinthians 5. Old things pass away. All things become new. And I would just ask you folks, is masturbation, is that not something that characterizes the old life? The lost life? The way of the world? We ourselves were once slaves to various passions and pleasures. I'm going to just ask the question, is masturbation characteristic of our past sinful life? Or is it characteristic of a pure life God has called us to? Let me throw another thing out to you. 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and He will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with the temptation He will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it. And what we need to ask ourselves is this: is masturbation a way of escape that God has provided for us from sexual temptation, or is it a way that man chooses? I think we need to ask that. What about the guy that comes and says, "Oh, I can't be involved in anything like that except I have images in my mind"? He's thinking about girls all the time. What that text tells me, there's a way out for him. Again, I think you're walking on dangerous ground if you say, well, yeah, the way out for him is God will help him clear his mind. I don't believe that's what that text means. God will give a way out. Now listen to this, Romans 8:13. By the Spirit you put to death the deeds of the body, you will live. Let me tell you something. I think some of this which is being argued for is coming from lost people. But also I think it's coming from some Christians who are suffering from, well, really they're guilty of a large dose of unbelief. They're just not confident about the power of the Spirit. Listen, you know what I know? I know there are men in this room and women in this room that have been delivered from masturbation and pornography altogether.